welcome to Top Employers for 2024. I'm Zanella Morrison. In order to gain top employer status, companies with over 250 employees must be at the forefront of people practices. These organizations undergo a rigorous process to assess and validate where their policies and conditions adhere or exceed industry best practice. Joining me for this conversation is Adrian Seligman, Top Employers Institute Executive Board member, and Nadir Yapi, Regional Manager for Africa. Nadir, thank you so much for joining me. Adrian, thank you for joining me. We've been on this road for many years, and that's really what gives credibility to your institution. But let me know, over the last couple of years, and I dare say post-COVID, how has the top employer certification evolved, and how is it being measured now?
Yeah, thanks very much for having us. And of course, the last few years have seen more change than other years as well. You know, when COVID happened, it pretty much ripped out the structures, the systems that we as employers we were used to. And so what we've seen really is then a rebuilding of those systems, but a rebuilding in a different way. So if you think about the organisation needing to reconnect itself, that's the kind of thing that now comes into our survey and we're looking for within our clients. So, things like how do you optimise the whole employee experience for remote working, setting up employee listening programs to better collect leaders then with individual contributors who are at the front line of their product service with their clients as well, mentoring programs, coaching programs as well. So it's a bit like a tree that was uprooted. Now it's back in the ground again, and its roots need to really kind of blossom to reconnect the organisation again.
But the challenge with that is that people have changed fundamentally, and organizations, whilst you were doing coaching before and you were doing customer centricity, it's surely with a very different flavor now that people are just seeing the world and they're seeing themselves as human beings in the organization differently. Has it been difficult for organizations? Have you seen a change in who does it better?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're pleased to say that many of the top employers within the programme are doing it better than others, but it's not totally standardised yet. If you look at any of the metrics around employee wellbeing around the world right now, it's clear that we have not got this right yet. So whatever flexible work looks like for your organisation, it's not fully there. And certain practices when it comes to wellness and us really looking after each other in a more fragmented, flexible structure are not fully built out. So just one of the bits of research we did recently was looking at wellbeing programs and engagement. And we saw that nearly half of even the top employers community had not really helped line managers connect with individuals in that mid-year conversation, the end-of-year conversation, just to find out how they're doing. And of course, they're not all life coaches, great coaches like you. But how does the HR community support line managers to make sure people are okay and they're able to thrive in the world of work?
And this brings a focus to the importance of HR and just how critical it is. But your territory has expanded tremendously. I mean, how many organizations across the continent are you working with and certifying as just great employers?
So thank you for having us, by the way. This year, we've got a total of 290 organizations certified in the African continent, which we're exceptionally proud of because the program has been bursting at the seams in Africa. This is also tied into us getting a better understanding that the movement towards a better world of work has created sort of a movement where organizations are starting to see the value in terms of the fact that their people are at the center of everything that they do, and that they need to start focusing on people being a significant part of the organizational strategy. So this has kind of bolstered out into organizations seeing that value. And I think post-COVID, there's been extra focus on the employee centricity and how the employee feels comfortable within the working environment as well.
Having been in the industry for so many years, we won't say on air how many years, but many years, diversity, inclusion and equity have always been at the forefront of this. How has this evolved for employees across the continent?
Yeah, well, pleased to say that's an area that continues to attract more and more time, investment, innovation in there as well. Gone are the days where we were borrowing budgets from the HR department to do things here, and things are really maturing. And what we're seeing right now is the broadening of various initiatives and measures that organisations are needing to put in place right now. And the reason there is that if you look around the globe in particular, it can be a very tight labour market. Just 3% unemployment in the US. So obviously it's more like 30% here in Africa and countries across Africa. But still, that war for talent, especially for large multinationals, they're all after the same kind of roles. So if you are a software developer or a digital marketeer, all organizations need you. So therefore, how do they stand out? And this is one of the things that employers can do. So if you start to broaden here, and we're thinking a lot of the work we've been doing with top employers is around setting up neuro-inclusive workspaces, because 10 to 20% of the population identifies as being neurodiverse. And that just means that they see the world in a different way. There's no right or wrong, no judgment here. But typically, it can be that 50 to 60% of that group does not particularly do well in a workplace environment, or what we know of a standard workplace environment. So how can employers adapt to that? Because they have a lot of these skills that we want, in disruptive thinking, innovative thinking.
Creativity.
Exactly
and innovation.
that.
And that is so interesting, because we kept a lot of people out of the workplace because their specializations were so different. We needed people who followed rules and followed policies and procedures. But now leadership requires innovation. Right. So do you see the criteria for what good leadership looks like, or what good people look like, changing? Because we are including neurodiverse people. We're not just including them to do jobs, but we're putting them into the workforce. So are we changing our criteria for what good looks like?
We definitely are. This is something you see various adaptations within our survey from year to year around this. So whether it's around purposeful leadership or authentic leadership, but even vulnerability is something that finds itself in the survey there as well. So these kind of things that HR wants to put in place to improve the world of work, they will live and die via our line managers. And so yes, when you get line managers that start to take this stuff seriously, you see that they put them then into their objectives, their own team, and you get that kind of ripple effect, that cascade through the business, and that is most certainly happening right now.
And you know what blows my mind is that the ability to put in these people who are creative, individuals who are creative, who are just neurodiverse, links very much to the ability to tap into technology advancement, because you need those people to start to work with AI capabilities and tech solutions and really integrate them into organizations that have been around for hundreds of years. How are you taking this whole AI and digital revolution and matching it into how an organization becomes a top employer and a top place for employees to be?
So nearly a very hot topic at the moment. Artificial intelligence, ever since ChatGPT was launched about almost 2 years ago now, there has been this huge excitement surrounding what artificial intelligence can do, and if integrated within the people space, what that means for the people practice and what human capital as a whole. So Africa and the Middle East has seen a large investment of, by 2026, it should be $6.8 billion US in terms of AI, and particularly a lot of that into the people practices side of things as well. When we look at AI being implemented, it is not supposed to be something that will replace people, and I think that's one of the biggest fears people generally feel. It is meant to come in to streamline things and to support the people space. What we need to be very careful of, and what organizations are in the very early stages of in terms of researching, is to better understand how to responsibly use AI when it comes to people, because if used incorrectly and implemented incorrectly, it can actually demoralize people within the workplace. And especially when it comes down to well-being and you're implementing something like a chatbot that speaks to you from a wellness perspective, you don't know what that person's going through. That's a very sensitive area that we still need to cross a bridge on at a later stage, but I think huge strides have been made in terms of the AI space, in terms of streamlining the more basic functions, which will help give a better personalized experience to employees, and we're very much orientated into the employee experience being personalized. So that's kind of the direction we're leading at the moment. A lot of people also ask where to from here and how do we get this done. It all starts with leadership.
And let's take that further down. So it starts with leadership to keep employees engaged. Is it more difficult now for leaders to keep people engaged when we have such a reliance and an opportunity to use technology as an interface even between ourselves?
I would say it has become challenging. The reason for that is because we've welcomed a whole new workforce. We've now stepped from millennial to Gen Z. Keeping them integrated and involved has become something that requires some creative thinking. So we've seen organizations starting to bring in the gamified the engagement space. So how do you keep a Gen Z or millennial involved? And large global organizations have gamified it where they get people involved and they then watch the engagement scores, and it's actually started going up between 80 and 100%. So creative thinking, definitely at the forefront of what leadership should be looking at in keeping employees engaged.
And I'm glad that it's still very topical for us. Adrian, I want to ask you exactly the same question. Bringing employees into an organization and the human touch, the human aspect, because we can work virtual. We can work virtual from anywhere in the world. Our colleagues are all over the world. Yeah. What's happening with just the ability to connect physically and just see people and feel people and see the whole body and not just the face?
Well, we love it as humans, don't we? So, whilst it's very convenient not to have to, jump on a plane, jump on a train, jump in your car to get to work, and it's a definite time saver, and you can better maybe care for relatives, take kids to school, balance your life. There's lots of positives there as well. As humans, we still love to connect. So, if you go back 20 years now, there was this big revolution when it came to learning and development, that e-learning was going to suddenly ruin every training and development company out there that did anything face-to-face. Of course, that didn't happen because inherently as humans, we don't particularly like it. But there's a sort of two-speed approach to this now, where you see, if we take something like an onboarding program, organizations will put together the learning associated with an onboarding program that can be consumed in the moment by employees in whatever setting is right for them. But at the same time, you will need to be part of, say, an onboarding cohort. So have some kind of connection there with colleagues who are going through the same experience as you, and you could apply this to whatever part of the employee journey you're looking at. And you see employers now looking to bring people together in purposeful moments associated with that moment in their career. And the physical thing is still very helpful. So,
and there's magic when people are together, because you can think on your own, but once you have 10 people thinking, right, we really see the magic of human beings. Thank you so much for joining me. It's about all we have time for, but I know you and I will continue this conversation after this, but it brings us to a close. Thank you to my guest, Adrian Seligman, the Top Employers Institute Executive Board Member, and Nadir Iapi, Regional Manager for Africa. Thank you for watching.